What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of the Culture to Christ podcast. We are your hosts, Alex and Aaron, and we have a great episode for you guys. Thank you to new listeners and listeners from episode 1. Today we are going to get into Aaron's world. Learn a bit about his past, him in sports, his competitive mindset, with even his entrepreneurial mindset, and leading into his gambling addiction. So if some of you guys have some gambling money addictions out there, this is something you want to hear. Aaron, how's it going?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Doing good. I'm excited to talk about your background and even the things you taught me and how the process of just the money you dropped. And we'll get into that. First, you and I are excited as hockey guys that the hockey playoffs are coming around the corner, and we're going to have something else to do during this lockdown. We're going to talk about your 2 picks. What are your 2 picks, East and West, and why?
I think from the East, I have Washington. I think the Capitals will go back only because a lot of their guys have been playing in Europe. And I know Ovechkin, he's been posting in Miami on the ice almost every day. So, if he's going, the team's going to be going.
Is that where they're playing? Is that where they're playing hockey? They're playing in Miami? Why?
No, because that's where he was quarantining. He was out of Miami.
This guy's quarantining in the hotspot of the COVID?
Yeah,
because he doesn't care. He eats sauce. He mixes the sauces and
it's Ovechkin,
Yeah.
Nothing phases him.
If you got Corona, you'd play better.
Yeah. If anyone, right?
He'd be like, you have Corona. I feel great. I just go out and score. I don't know what you're talking about. What's Corona? I just had 3 last night. That's my meal.
For sure. And then from the West, I think Vegas. I think it's going to be a repeat.
Washington, Vegas, because he wants another reason to go to Vegas. He wants to see it.
You mean Edmonton?
You want to see how God works, eh? You want to test yourself while you're there in Vegas? No, I didn't gamble. I just dropped $300,000 on Vegas doing Game 7.
Hey, they got voted the best atmosphere to watch a game, Vegas.
Okay, because I hear they make it like a theatrical show, like pre-games and like in between periods. I'm excited to go to one. So Washington and Vegas. And you think that on paper? Because everyone has a shot now because they're all rested up. Yeah,
and I told you earlier that anyone can win this year because everyone has this. They're all in the same boat. They haven't been playing as a team together. Mm-hmm. So, there's not going to be one favorite who's been dominant because anything you did in the regular season literally means nothing now because you haven't been playing for 4 months as a team, right?
Well, I think one thing is there's injuries. Like guys were injured long, like Gensel for Pittsburgh. I know because I've been in fantasy hockey. He was injured for a long time, and he's back. So some teams are probably I kind of like that there was 3-4 months off. Tarasenko was injured, and now these teams are like, St. Louis was like, you think about the team that won last year, usually you're more tired, right? And now they're like, we're fresh. We can go back to back.
Any team can win, man, and they're all healthy.
Well, I'll tell you the 2 teams that are going to go far. My first pick for the East, Florida Panthers. Okay, Keith Yandel is a beauty. Bobrovsky's going to pick it up. Okay, he's been playing bad all year.
Barkov.
Right, Barkov, right? Huberdeau. They got guys.
Yeah,
they have a lineup. They have size. They have a good coach.
I'll tell you one thing.
Stanley Cup winning coach, Joel Quenneville. They have the players in place, right?
And if they meet the Leafs, you already know Florida. Leafs.
They're buzzing, baby.
Leafs are the worst against Florida.
Leafs are the worst against any team. And I'm going to go with my boy Zach Kassian and the Edmonton Oilers. And
home ice advantage too for them.
Oh yeah, I think that I think Draisaitl's nasty without even McDavid. I think they got right pieces. James Neal puts a puck in the net.
You know who finished with the most points this year in the NHL?
Who finished with who?
Draisaitl.
Oh yeah,
15 points more than the second place guy, which was probably McDavid. His line mate, right?
Did McDavid get injured at all?
Yeah, he did. He got hurt. That's why.
And then everyone's saying, "Oh, who's gonna?" And then Leon Draisaitl's like, "I got this. I got this." No.
Everyone was saying like, "Oh, now he doesn't have him. How is he gonna play?"
And he's like, "Go fuck yourself."
Lit him up.
Yeah. And in talking about that in hockey, we're gonna get into your past in high school and growing up in sports. So when did you played tennis and hockey? What did you start first? You start playing tennis first or hockey?
Hockey first. So I started hockey at 7, and then I played that competitive till I was about 13, 14. And so a year before hockey draft year, that's when I just decided to go full tennis.
And you're playing tennis at what age? You started?
I started I think maybe when I was around 10 or 11, I just played for fun with my dad, but never never took lessons or anything, right? And then 13, 14 is when I actually went into tennis academies and started training and practicing.
Was your dad good?
My dad. My dad was the manager at Bayview Tennis Club. That's like where Daniel Nestor. Have you heard of Daniel Nestor? He's like,
I feel like I have.
yeah. So he's like one of the biggest. Like he's the most accomplished doubles player, I think, for sure in Canadian history, but like in the world, he's like a double specialist, and he grew up playing at Bayview. So my dad was there, like not as an instructor, but he was a manager of the club. So he was always like playing. And then he taught me how to play, but it's nothing like getting actual professional lessons and like training in an academy. That's what actually makes you better, right?
Well, did that make you kind of competitive? Like, did you play your dad in games? Like, did that make you like, yo, that's my dad. Like, I'm not gonna not be focused. Like, that's my dad. I want to play good. I want to.
So I didn't actually play like sets or matches against my dad. I was just hitting with my dad.
Like getting better.
Yeah.
Learn the strokes. Learning your okay.
Yeah.
And how was the academy? Like, what academy did you go to? Was it?
So the first academy I went to was ORC. It's in Mississauga, like borderline Oakville, and it's all pretty much. I'd say all the tennis academies are very similar. Like you're there, 3 to 5 times a week. A couple hours a day training. It's not like the States though. Like in Canada, like in the States, you can because it's outdoor. But here, we have winter, so you have to be in the bubble or like indoor courts, and it's a lot harder to get court times. So the training here is not as intense as the States. But like for me, compared to hockey, it was, pretty similar type of schedules. Like in hockey, when you're in AAA, you're on the ice almost every day.
You have,
right? You have to be.
In Ontario, like hockey, that's where the best hockey players in the world come from.
Yeah.
Like you have to be. Like, and you and I talk about like, the reason why maybe you chose tennis was because like at hockey was different when you and I were younger, right? It was way more about physicality and your size, less about your skills, your hockey IQ, and things you could do.
Yeah, size came first back in the day. Yeah. Like that's what scouts would always look for. They'd see the biggest guys, and that's why if you look at the old the draft histories, just look at the size compared to now. Of the average size back then, like during our time, at least 6. 6'2", 6.
It didn't matter skill level. It was almost like whoever had an early puberty, right? And a lot of times too, like those, even in NHL, right? Those early draft picks can be duds because you're kind of going on potential, or right. So hockey was like that, right? If you're big, you're good. You don't have size, you can't throw a body check, right? You can't fight, you can't bring a physicality to the game, which is a lot more physical when you and I are younger.
Yeah, and there was no skill involved back then. Like, well, there was skill, but not like how it is now. Now you watch I was watching the Marlies tournament, so the draft year in Christmas, and there's no hitting at all. Like guys are just like dipsy doodling, like going through the center, and it's sick. Like I enjoy watching that hockey more, but it just goes to show you that the time difference when we were playing compared to now. Like if it was now, we'd be buzzing out there.
Yeah, see, I'm so old school where like I like the old way in terms of setting a pace and setting the tone.
Yeah.
Especially the way I was coached, like, you had to be physical and like, like I was a winger. I'm like, every time I get the puck on the boards, like I have to my head up or I'm getting my head like knocked off. And even when you got hurt when you were younger, like it's like your legs aren't broken. You have no broken bones. You have to get up and get off the bench. Like you have to be tough. Right. And like I so many times I had concussions for sure. And we're just like, oh, it's normal.
But also for you, because you grew up in a hockey family, like your dad was your coach, your mom played pro. Yeah. So like, you're Canadian, like you had to be tough.
It's
right?
my blood. It wasn't even like a thought. I never had a thought of like complaining, or like maybe when I first started playing hockey at like 3 or 4, my feet hurt. My dad, that's the only sport my dad didn't let me quit was hockey. He's like, I don't care. I can quit soccer, quit this, but hockey was like, no. And I'm glad because it taught me so many characteristics in life in general and competition. And I like that mindset, you know what I mean? Of pushing yourself. I even liked when guys started hitting me. It'd get me fired up. Like I liked playing lacrosse because guys would hit you and you get you more involved, more like awake in the game.
Even to this day, you're the only person that I've seen block a shot face first in a playoff game, right?
It's just instinct, man. It's instinct. Like I grew up with like, you don't want to let the team down. That was my biggest thing, especially with my dad's a coach. Like I don't want to let him down either because like in the car rides, everything is like about that, right? So I'm always like defense first. Don't make mistakes in the defensive zone and then move forward. And it's kind of, as I age now, I'm like, okay, I'm not blocking that shot. Like, I'm getting rid of.
No, you're still blocking that shot if it's to win a game.
Win a game, win a game, playoffs, yeah. But I have to get rid of some of those instincts because I'm getting sore. Like I'm getting in some days. Like I took a slap shot and I dove across, hit me in the face. I'm like, my cage got dented. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I should do that
That
again.
was crazy. Even the ref was right there, and he looked at me. He's like, yo, you guys better buy this guy as many beers as he wants after the game.
Yeah, it is nuts. But yeah, the game is changing. So you obviously chose tennis. It was more, you saw more of a career there, things you can go forward with there. So you played. How does it work? How does the leagues work in tennis when you're playing in high school?
So
is it tournaments? It's not, right? Is it?
Yeah. So like high school tennis in Canada it's not serious.
Okay.
Right. You have to be playing. It's called So OTA is like GTHL hockey.
Okay.
So you start playing tournaments. OTA. You can start like under 10, then under 12, 14, under 16, all the way up to under 18. So that's like equivalent. You play OTA, and if you're playing like provincials, nationals, those are all like big hockey, tournaments, like OHL Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So like I started playing tournaments under 14, which is considered late, right? Like a lot of people, they start under, like my brother started under 10. A lot of people, they start under 10 and then work their way up, right? So but because I was playing hockey, I started late, and then under 13, under 14. Under 14 is when I started playing tournaments, and then I played all the way up until under 18. So under 18 would be like last year high school, maybe first year university, depending on, your birth date.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was playing basically a tournament, maybe every weekend or every other weekend, but always training, like always doing lessons.
And were you the one wanting to do the lessons? Were you hard on yourself, like wanting to get better, or is it like pressure from your dad, or just like not wanting to lose?
Well, my dad always put me in like the right academies, but like I wanted to play myself, because coming from hockey, it was like not playing hockey. It's like even during COVID, when you love to do something, and it gets taken away from you, like, you need to fill it with something else, right? So once hockey stopped, I was like, okay, yeah, I got to focus on tennis. Like, I'm not just going to sit home. I've always been active, right?
Yeah.
I was like doing sports. So then, my dad enrolled me into academies, and then I would take lessons as well. And then from there, I just took it serious.
And do you think that it instills into your mindset, like how you said when COVID got taken away, and you and I growing up in sports at like the age of 3, and like, you said start at 7, but at such a young age, like when you feel the rush of that, like the competitiveness to want to win, you see yourself improve, that like the freedom you feel about playing sports because you don't have to think. Do you think that entails a lot into your entrepreneurial mindset and the things you started doing in high school revolving around clothing and fashion? Do you think that kind of interconnected, where maybe hockey obviously is different, like, you have guys to rely on, but you were in tennis where it's you, right? Like it's a lot that you said was on you. Did your mindset do you take that mindset into everything else you did?
So yeah, like a bit here and there, but I think from the first part of that question, I think that the competitive spirit from hockey is different than a competitive spirit in tennis, because tennis is an individual sport. So in hockey, let's say you have a bad day or you're not playing well, you can still win. In tennis, if you have a bad day, you're getting smoked. Like it's two completely different competitive spirits, but you love to win in both sides, but it's a different type of pressure, I call it. Like tennis and I think probably golf are like the most pressured individual sports that you can play, way more than when you're in a tennis match, the amount of pressure you feel there is way more than any hockey game.
Do you like it though? Like, did you like it? Did you like thrive off that pressure, being like, it's on me, here we go?
So I can say that I liked it only when I was winning. Okay. Because let's say if I would lost a match because of like pressure, or I just didn't feel good, then obviously I I didn't like the pressure, right? Like it fueled me and I lost. But the competitive spirit is what makes you come back and always want to play more. But from a fashion standpoint, I think I started getting really into fashion under 14 from the tennis clothing that I always saw, like Federer and Nadal wear. That's when because I was playing tennis so much, and these were like the guys who I idolized.
You look up to, you want to get better. And
I would look at what they were wearing. So I would buy all the Federer and Nadal stuff, and like I think of, like this is how I want to dress, like when I'm on the court. Like I was so into like all the Nike gear, Nike tennis gear, and then from there it just transitioned into streetwear, fashion.
And were you like kind of leading a certain thing? Like were you kind of first in the niche at the time when you were in like the high school time of liking certain fashion, talking about it? Like you're just naturally curious about it? Did you kind of build an environment around you, people, or like a group online that you wanted to talk to about?
So in high school time, so in high school I worked at Champs,
Mm-hmm.
and I think from working there, because I was getting so many like Jordans on discount, and like working at Champs too, you see a lot of releases that, because back then there was no Instagram, during high school time. So
What was the social media? What was the social
It
media
was
platform?
like Facebook groups,
Okay.
and forums. So like
Okay.
ISS, Nike Talk, stuff like that. But when I was working at Champs, I was getting a lot of like the Jordans, and then like buying, selling, trading to guys in the States, especially because it's like the stuff that we got here, sometimes they wouldn't get down there, vice versa. And with my discount as well, like that's an advantage for me.
What gave you that idea to do that? Like, what did you talk to someone? You were just curious, always thinking about different ideas, like always trying to build your own business and do work on your own time. Is that what it was?
I think that so in high school time, I started like being on like the sneaker forums and everything. I was seeing what I think. So that time was probably like Kanye and those guys. It's crazy because they're still relevant today, but
Yeah.
those were the guys that were always like debuting like the newest shoes. But I think it's even for so Nike SB were the first things that I really collected seriously, and that just happened through sneaker forums. So guys in the States were always posting SBs and stuff, and then there was a couple boutique stores up in Toronto that had them, and I always looked at those because my cousins were big into collecting them. So I looked at like inspiration from my cousins as like, these guys they have all like the newest kicks, Jordans, this and that. And then from there, they brought me into the culture, like of going on forums, seeing, what's like the newest shit. So yeah, I got to give a shout out to both my cousins too, who got me into it. My cousin Jay and Belle, like we used to go to all the stores downtown in Toronto before social media, and just like, pick out what you couldn't get at Foot Locker and what you couldn't get at Champs. But then when I started working at Champs,
Like special releases you guys were getting, or like, did you buy them to wear them to make posts and pictures, or did you want to buy them to resell? Was it kind of both?
both, all three.
Just to kind of brag
buy,
and be like-
buy, sell, trade.
Okay.
So like, when I was getting like, what I would do is when I was working at Champs, I would get like the Jordans on my discount, especially on 50 days, and then I would use those as trade bait, or I would sell them and then use that money for other stuff, right? Like
okay.
other releases that
Kept
let's say I
leveraging
didn't
it.
get.
Kept leveraging it.
Exactly. It's like it's just one big like the sneaker community too. There's always, especially back then, everyone was just trading kicks.
And were Jordans the kicks to trade? Like those were the hypest kicks at the time.
Yeah, Jordans and like SBs, like
and you in the United States were the biggest buyers.
yeah, because it's a numbers game, right? Like
Okay.
out there they have, especially all the groups, like they were like there's probably 95% Americans, like 5% Canadians.
So that the numbers are just they're drastic, because like in Canada it's Toronto, right? You
Yeah.
have your main kind of atmosphere. And at the time, it's not even your time. Like in high school, Toronto wasn't as big as it is now because of the Raptors, Drake, music, all that stuff.
Exactly. Toronto wouldn't even get a lot of the releases that you get in the States.
Mm-hmm. So when you transitioned that, what did you do after your Champs? When you led into university, did you continue like your reselling business and your flipping and stuff on like your own website, forums, eBays in university? Did you continue that? And you told me you were playing tennis in university.
Yeah. So in tennis, I was still on the tennis team,
Okay.
and yeah, I would
What's
still.
a tennis team? What's a tennis team like in university? It's just like you go to turn, like you have your, because you play doubles with guys. You play
Yeah,
by
so you play
yourself?
singles and doubles, and you
Okay.
just play against other schools, right? Like
Okay.
every weekend.
Okay. What
So-
university did you go to?
York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout
So-
out to all York people listening right now. Right?
Yeah.
Not really a part-
no one's in there.
No one's in there. Not really a party school, eh?
And like
No.
everyone who goes to York, usually they don't even live on campus, right? They
Okay.
just commute there, and
And
it's
you
like
co-
it
you
feels like
commute?
high school again. Yeah.
Did you commute?
Yeah.
It feels
I
like
did.
high school again.
Yeah, you're just
More
going to school
people.
and come back, and then it
Did you
doesn't
like-
feel like university.
Did you like playing sports in university? Like, was it good to be on a team?
Honestly, I didn't really like it as much because I guess when I was playing tennis for so long, from under 14 to under 18, I was just like, I didn't really care to play in university as much. I just did it because I was like something to do.
And you take in university anything related to your business? Like, what were you taking in university?
So I was taking communications and professional writing.
Okay.
So because I wanted to get into sports broadcasting. So during university, I had an internship.
Color commentating in hockey? Is that what it is?
Or just, I don't know, anything related with like hockey or tennis.
Okay.
Right? Those are two two of my favorite sports. Right?
I could see you doing something good in that if you wanted to. Probably hockey. I think it's because you have your opinions are very strong in some areas.
Yeah.
So
Well, I interned at Rogers for the OHL.
Okay.
So I was doing that because I was like, oh, after university, that's what I want to get into, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did the internship there, but it was from doing the internship where I just realized like I don't want to do this.
What was it like? Just working for somebody else, or just having to
Like
get coffees for guys?
Putting
all the
together
time?
like highlights. I just thought that you could just get into broadcasting, just
boom.
being on camera, yeah, right
boom.
away.
What's going on? Aaron's world.
Yeah, and then you just
Aaron's
think of
hockey.
how many when I saw Rogers, how many people were doing jobs because they want to get to behind the camera, and that's at Rogers, like local OHL, like Channel 10.
Yeah.
You know,
Nobody watches that.
so I just saw like how hard it is to move up in that field. Especially like it's easier if you're a professional athlete, you can get into broadcasting right away.
Yeah,
like
your market, your
you already
brand.
exactly, it's
Boom.
different.
Spitting chiclets. Boom.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't play pro. Like if you don't play pro, you don't come from that background.
You need to have.
You got to
connects.
you got to put in serious work.
Yeah.
So like when I was doing that, I was like, nah, like this isn't for me. So I just kept doing the whole resell game.
And your business was growing over this time, right?
Yeah, like especially through Facebook. So Facebook, that was big because everyone was just like hitting me up for gear, and yeah.
So when you finished that, and then sportsmanship doesn't work. How did you kind of manage your business? How did you see? Obviously, you're growing financially, right? You're like, okay, this stuff's coming in big. You're becoming a brand name. Like this is the guy to go to. What was like kind of your focus after your internship's not working? What was your focus with say your brand, your reselling? Kind of what was your focus in that? Or you kind of just, I'm young, I'm just gonna like chill, party, do things, like I got my business, things going good.
Yeah, so like because online, like back then, just from selling on Facebook, sneaker groups and eBay, so things like that, like they were booming, obviously, especially because the Canadian dollar back then, right? It's not like how it is now. So I think that like the whole trading system favored us, especially me, because I was still getting my Champs discount on stuff. So
How long were you at Champs for? How long were you?
So I was there for
Just high school?
no. So in university, I wasn't working at Champs, but I still had connects to get discounts on stuff.
Jeez,
right?
okay.
So I always had that there for me to to make money and to trade, and then from there I thought I was gonna open a store one day. I just knew that I just got to get my degree. I'm already like 3 years in. So I was just like just
Typical
get out,
guy,
right?
Just get out.
Yeah, like I didn't want to waste it and just drop out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my life right there. So when you grew it, like what did you do afterwards? Like you flew around, like what was kind of your goal with that? What did you want to pursue? It was like you kind of just were in a kind of a, I think like most of us, some kids, right? Like you finish university, whatever, and you're kind of just like just chilling. Like there's kind of just this space where you're just like,
honestly,
I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try that, like this is a new drug, let me try this, like, oh yo, look, check out these clubs, check out these parties, where you're just kind of living that lifestyle.
No, like I wasn't even partying like that hard at first. I think that came probably a bit later after university.
Did you party at all during university, by the way? Like
yeah, I didn't party at school. Like especially York wasn't one of those campuses where there's like crazy parties going on. It's not like Western or I'm sure those type of schools.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, everyone that goes to York, they usually just go there and then go home.
Yeah.
There's no campus atmosphere there. So yeah, I went to clubs probably like downtown and stuff, but not too crazy. Mostly I was just like buying, reselling. I was so into like just collecting as well. Like I wanted to collect the rarest shoes, the rarest clothes. I was posting it on Facebook. And then I guess like when did Instagram come out? Instagram probably came out when I was maybe last year university or the year after university.
Okay.
So I transitioned to there, and I just did the same. I applied the same thing that I did to Facebook onto Instagram. Just posted the shit I was into, like
different
fashion, clothing,
different
shoes.
So did you become a personal stylist? You start like getting people like,
yeah,
you're the guy for fashion. You have all these different brands. You take fit pics on Facebook, whatever. You call them fit pics. I'm like, fit pics, like, are you fitness or I don't understand.
Yeah.
Right, but like, did people start becoming a personal stylist for people? Because like, did they start reaching out to you in terms of just how to wear clothes, how to dress?
Yeah. So like people when they see you post things, especially if you have a large following, they'll message you being like, yo, how can I get this? Can you get this for me? And I'll be like, yeah, like I could hook you up with this and that. And then so I started doing that. That was like what I was doing full time, because especially like sneakers and clothing, it's very lucrative. Like there's a lot of money in it, you know? Like I showed you some prices the other day. You couldn't believe it, right? Of, like the
No.
clothing.
I'm like,
It's like,
I'm like, why?
Even
How?
now it's more insane than what it was before. And before, like there was people making really good money off of it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was doing that after university as well. And then
Were you making stupid amounts of money where like no one knew about it? You kept it on the low, or did people kind of know about you?
I was
Know of you
definitely-
by the like word of
yeah.
mouth in the GTA or whatever.
I was definitely making like really good money doing
Mhm.
it.
Were you mind blowing at it? Were you kind of like, okay, this is just the culture. This is the way it is. Like you said, people just spend money on this kind of stuff.
Because I always like was familiar with pricing and like how things like appreciate in value when they become rare. It didn't really surprise me. I think the only time I got surprised was when I realized that like I don't really need to get a job. I can just do this. That's when it's kind of surprising to you, because you don't really know how serious you can take something until like you realize like, should I stop this and go get a job? But you compare and see how much I would be making at a job versus what I'm doing reselling. And then like even today, there's people that they resell all the time. That's all they do. And they're making, high six figures.
More money than you would just
Sitting behind a desk, what to do.
Yeah, being told what to do.
And it depends on your attitude. Like me, I've always been a go-getter. Like I never expected handouts from anybody. Like I've always, wanted my own. So I knew that if I could be my own boss, like I'd be successful.
And you said too, like you had your own freedom. You would just go do stuff. Like you didn't have to like focus on business 24/7. You're like, I'm gonna go take a flight here with the boys and go here.
Exactly.
And is that kind of how it led into you and your other ventures of like, okay, like let me look for, I'm getting comfortable in this clothing industry, fitness, stylist. I have my industries, I have my guys, I'm making money here and there. Is that what led you to thinking into other things? We getting into that gambling, getting to that new rushes, new highs.
Yeah. So
your love of sports and stuff.
Yeah, it's all intertwined because, like the gambling started for me, I'd say around 2016 to 2017. That's when I got really into it. So, as someone who played sports their whole life, like you always have that competitive edge, and that's the worst thing you can have as a gambler, because you just don't know when to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember my first bet was Washington Capitals Pittsburgh Penguins game. Just like it was a normal game.
Ovi and Sydney.
Yeah.
Big games, big money games.
Yeah. And like my whole mindset was just like, like I watch so many hockey games anyways, like why not just put some money on
Put
it?
more excitement to it. More.
Yeah. And like I could win money, so why wouldn't I? So I think I just put like $1,000 on it or something. And the worst thing that could happen to me was winning that bet, because winning that bet, like if I lost that bet, my life could be like I could not even have a sports gambling addiction at all.
We wouldn't be having this conversation.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But winning that bet, it
was like lighting a fire to something that was like, wow,
yeah,
this is a new feeling. This is like a new high, like playing that new sport, taking that new drug, drinking that first sip of alcohol.
Yeah.
You're like, what is this?
And then watching the game, I never watched a game in that perspective before, because now when you have money on something, every play matters. Before when you're just watching a game, you're just like, you're into it, but you're not that into it. When you have money down, every play you're like, fuck, like,
come on,
you're getting pissed at
back
everything.
Back check.
Yeah.
Why did he block that shot? Win the face. Was it prop bets, or was it just like outcome?
That was just a money line, just like pick a team who's gonna win.
Okay.
And I picked Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so after that bet, and then I think my next bet was Toronto Raptors, and I did that with my boy. So me and him, I think we probably did like maybe 500 each on it. Won that game too. So I was just like, 2 bets in a row, like I'm gonna keep going, right?
Yeah, you look at the profit income. This is good money.
And then so doing it with your boys too, it's just like it's so exciting, because now you're with someone, like you're both cheering for the same team, like. It's a crazy feeling, right?
Yeah, it's the environment. It's a team. Like it's a team scenario. Like when you win a game with the boys on the ice, there's no better feeling.
Nothing.
Like you and I win a game after hockey, we're like, I'm good for the week.
Yeah.
I'm good with this. I feel good. We lose a game, it's completely different.
It's that rush. It's that dopamine, right? Of the feeling of winning.
Mm-hmm. So I can see that. Like you winning on your own, it's like, okay, cool. But like you have your buddy there, you're dapsing, you're getting into it. It's like, this is something we can get into, right?
And it's something you feel like you earn too. Like, as stupid as it sounds, watching a full game and winning, it feels like you were a part of it. Like you had something to do with it. You create all these superstitions, right? And then you think that if you watch it in this certain way, or you have to be in a certain spot, and like if you win, you know, like you feel like you have to keep doing that.
Oh yeah.
So
You're
there's so many
investing.
mental games.
It's like you're
right?
investing in the company. Like, this is my hockey team now.
Yeah, and
Like,
you
I
have,
I
you
put
have
10
no
grand.
control over
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You know.
And you're talking to players like, F this guy, like, you know, fucking Matthews got to fucking put the puck in the net. What
Yeah.
the fuck? Yeah. So like when the money started, did you win a lot right away? Like early on, you said you won the first 2.
Yeah.
Like, did you start going, okay, you know what, this is pretty cool. Let's get into other games, different sports games. Like,
No.
did you want to increase the money? What was that process like?
So yeah, I'd say like the first couple months, I'd say I was definitely up from it, and then it got really bad because after, like, I started with maybe like doing a couple games, and
Yeah.
then it just grew to, you know,
Full-time business.
10 games a day.
You're just like, you just sleep often? And probably never.
No.
You're just looking, like, did you have like 5 screens? You have 5 screens,
Yeah.
different sports games.
Yeah, we had, like, me and my boys, we had multiple screens going. From the time you get up to the time you go to bed, we'd go like 10 to 13 games. And then after that, after watching the games, we'd go to casino and start gambling over there.
And
So it was just like full blown addiction. From
where were
that
you guys
point.
doing this? In Niagara? Is this in
Yeah,
locally?
yeah, Niagara
Okay.
Casino, Fallsview.
Okay.
So we would just like, but anyways, back to the sports gambling. So after those first couple months, right, I was like, yo, like, yeah, we're winning. You know, I'm winning. Like,
This is
why would
good.
I stop? Yeah,
Yeah.
let's keep going. And then, you know, you start seeing like losses happen, and then that's when your competitive spirit comes out to being like, I can't take a loss. Start chasing. Let's go next game. Like, it came to the point where it's like I couldn't even watch every game anymore. So it started from me watching one game and betting on it to now I have so many different games going at different times of the day where it's like I don't even care about the actual sport anymore. I just want to see my account rise, and you know, I just want to get the rush, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's crazy because you're not even yourself when you're betting anymore, because you're so just focused on, you know, plugging in numbers, betting the like stupid amounts. It's like you're in a simulation mode, if that makes sense.
You stopped enjoying your sports.
Yeah.
You went into like complete data, just like see the numbers.
Yes.
Okay, so if you lost, you'd go next game, put even more to make back the loss. Like, you didn't go, let me manage this slowly over time.
Never.
You're like,
No.
big win, you're like, okay, sick. You feel great, but you're like, what's the next thing? Like, what's the next?
Yeah.
Did you focus more eventually then get onto the losses? Like, you were like more affected by the losses than the wins?
That's how it happens. Yeah. So when you win after, it's just like you get happy, but then that amount that you were comfortable at, it's like, yo, that doesn't even phase you anymore. So now you got to start betting bigger, you know, because now making 1,000, what's 1,000? You got to go 5,000. You got to go 10,000 to get that rush. You know, that same dopamine that you were getting at 1,000, now it doesn't exist anymore. You got to go higher. Yeah.
It becomes numb because you're like, what's the point of this? I've done this already. I want to chase. I want to get higher and higher and higher.
Exactly. So like, this is when I knew, well, actually I didn't know it was a problem, but I remember this story that it was after the NBA All-Star game. It was Portland Trailblazers versus Golden State Warriors, and I think I put like $28,000.
Oh my god!
So this was my first like really big bet.
Mhm.
I put $28,000 on Golden State to win.
Were you nervous?
Right?
Were you just like, fuck it, like, or you calculate this? Do you look at stats and injuries and all this stuff?
Yeah,
Like
so
28 grand on one game.
So even from the start, I always looked at Roto World. There was a website that would tell you who's injured, who's the hottest player right now, the stats of the other team.
Yeah.
They would give you predictions. So I'd always look at that thinking like, yo, I have the edge. Like, I know what I'm doing. It's the stupidest thing, right?
Yeah.
Because how the fuck would you know?
you're in the locker room with the boys.
Yeah,
pregame,
like, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And so when I used to do that before every game, like get my stats ready. I'd even have like a little coin that I would flip. I'd be like, yo, if this goes heads right now, right, I'm gonna lock in the bet. Like, my stats are right. Like, it's so stupid.
Wow.
So if I see heads, okay.
There's no God in that conversation. No
you
God.
know what's stupid though? Back then, sometimes I think that God give me a sign. Like, why are you praying to God to win bets?
God, give me this. Give me this money. I need more. I need more.
I'd be lying to you if I didn't think that.
Oh, 100%.
A couple times I'd be like, yo, God, this, like, just give me this one, you know?
Man, so many of us do that, right? Like, we're always about like adding God into the conversation,
Yeah.
right? Like, yo, God bless me, right? It's just like, bro, you don't even talk to him when you talk. Like, you know what I mean? It's only in dire needs, right?
Exactly. So anyway, so that game was Golden State versus Portland Trailblazers, okay? Right after All-Star weekend. So you're asking me, how did I come up with that amount, 28,000? I think I was just like, that amount I had to put was to win maybe 15,000 because Golden State was amazing. Yeah. So I needed to bet that amount to at least make something like good, right? So I was like, okay, for me to win 15 grand, something around there, I have to put 28, right? And you know who was with me that time? Justin Illy.
Okay.
Justin was beside me during that bet, right?
What is he like?
He was just like,
"Good job, Aaron. Keep it up, buddy."
Justin was just like, "Yo, like you're
nuts.
Crazy. Yeah,
you're
like,
crazy."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, hearing it, I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. So I locked in, right? I was watching the game with Justin and my other boys. Damian Lillard, like, fucking went off.
He went off?
Like, I think he dropped. I think that was his career high. Like 60 points against. Like, as I'm watching the game, like, what the fuck is Steph Curry? Like, yo, hit some shots.
Because you picked the winner. You just picked Golden State. Definitely gonna win this.
Yes. They fucking got blown out by like 29, maybe like 30 points. So my boys are like, every time Damian Lillard would come up the court, splash a three, they would just turn around and look at me for my reaction. It was the worst experience ever. Like, I'm sitting there with my boys and Justin. Every time they hit a shot, the Trailblazers, they all look at me.
There's no way.
So I'm just like, yo, like, I'm getting so cheesed.
You're snapping. I can see your whole face being red.
Dude, it was. That's
Did
probably
you watch
the most,
game?
Yes, I was watching.
You watched the entire
live.
game.
Yeah, because that was my first big
and
bet.
You're getting ripped on, or what? Chirped,
dude,
or just like, yo, this is depressing.
Not even like they weren't trying to chirp me because they felt bad, but they were just like, they just looked at me like, bro, you're getting fucking torched, you know. And like, how can I be mad? Like, yo, like we're all watching the game together.
Yeah.
They don't want me to lose, but it's just part of the game. So then, so after that game, right? Like, I'm fucking stunned. Like, yo, I just lost 30 racks, right? So I was like, hey, fuck, how am I, like, and obviously I had more, like, I had the money to pay it. Yeah. So, like, I was never betting money I didn't have. Yeah. But still, losing 30 racks, no matter who you are, you're fucking pissed, right?
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, fuck, what should I go on another game? We looked at, like, a couple, that was the last game because it was on the West Coast. Okay. So now there's no more games. Yeah, it's the late game. So I'm just like, what should I do? Like, me and my boys were just like, yo, let's go
casino?
Casino, yeah. Just put, just do 28,000, one spin.
You're trying to win it back.
Win it back.
Win it back in one go. Yeah.
And then so I was thinking, I was like, fuck, we got to drive all the way from downtown to Fallsview. And I was just like, okay, fuck, call the casino, see if they're open. And obviously they're open, right?
Yeah.
But to get that amount of cash at 12 o'clock at night, to get 30 racks in cash, obviously hard to do. Banks are closed, like, you know. So
what'd you do? I
was just like, fuck, I basically have to just like take this L. Like, I'll be back tomorrow morning with another big sports bet to try to get it back. So that night I didn't go to the casino. But then, more bets happen, right? And then after, like, me and my boys would always follow up our last bet with a trip to the casino to go do some roulette.
And do you think that's a part of your addiction at the time was you couldn't just take a loss and then just, you know what?
Never.
Let's adjust. You're just thinking about, okay, I just lost $28,000 on a game I thought was for sure. So it's like almost like a multiple hit. You're like, I did my research. Golden State's nasty. I have to put 28 to win 15. Like, they're gonna win, and they got blown out. Like, is it a shot at not even the money loss, but your pride is in there too? So now it's like you're adding in that addiction. It's like, yo, I can't be a loser. Yeah. So you're just thinking about the entire time. Like, are you tracking the losses? Like, yo, 28K. I gotta keep going till I get 28K back. Yeah.
So instantly, that's what you think. Like, yo, I want to get that that money back, right? For that time, and then But yeah, like what you just talked about there, it's your ego and your pride, especially when you're a competitive person. Sports gambling is the worst thing you can do, because you think you have an impact on a game. That's your ego. You think you know more than the guys who are actually playing. Like, you have zero control over that game. So my competitive spirit wouldn't allow me to stop at a loss, and it wouldn't stop me at a win, because even when I won, I'd be like it's one game. I have more games to go. Like, I would never be happy with a win, and I would never be mad enough to stop after a loss.
And it
was a full-blown addiction.
And you said to yourself, it was always your money. You were never going and feeling bad. You're like, it's on me 24/7, so I win it. Okay, I win. Like, okay,
it's on me, exactly. So I that's one thing. Like, I never asked other people, to help me, so I didn't feel like it was their problem. Like, this is my own money. I can do what I want with it, right? And so like the games went from 28,000 to I put 68,000 on a couple, 50,000, 120,000.
What was the increase for? Was the increase because you could only win a certain amount? Like you said, you put 28K to only win 15K. Did you pick for sure winners, or did you ever pick underdogs? You're like, I'm trying to hit gold here.
Yeah, both. I was doing both.
Was it all basketball, or is it hockey, basketball, whatever sport, football? Were you picking on the ones you liked?
Every sport, basically. I was doing. Didn't matter. Like UFC. I was doing. Even a couple times when you and I were playing hockey, right? Saturday nights. Shout out to Drew. Drew's hockey. Hockey
DHL,
league.
baby.
DHL, yeah.
DHL beat Team Supreme. No big deal.
So when we were playing and I was on the ice and I had a bet going, like during our game, I would have to physically leave the ice. If you ever saw me leaving the ice to go watch the TVs in the center, is because my games were on. So like I remember like Pittsburgh, San Jose, I had money on the game. So during our actual game of being on the ice, I had to leave the ice. I think I told people I got to go to the washroom or something. Just went straight to the TVs.
So addicted. Yeah, I got to go to the washroom, guys. Quick, it's crazy. I just don't even know.
Yeah, I went straight to the TVs in my full gear. I'm watching the game, the score, seeing like fuck, like am I winning? Am I losing? But that's how bad it got. Like I couldn't go a day without making minimum like 10 bets. 10 to 15 bets.
And you have a number? Did you have a number?
No, there was never a number like, oh, I want to make this much and then I'll stop.
You were just a rush guy.
It was just like
rush.
Fuck it. Like,
yeah. It was the rush. The money is the money. The numbers are like, okay, I'll know the numbers, what I'll make, but it's always about that rush.
Exactly. The numbers were so, at that point, it was all over the place. Like there were some bets like couple grand, other bets 10, like it just had
here and there, casual stuff. Now, did you spend more time on the sports gambling or like casino? Or did you like
definitely sports, but like on weekends, me and my boys would always go like, because so before I get into the casino one, like a big bet that I made for basketball.
Yeah, you talked about 50K, 120K.
Yeah. So I'll tell you about like the 68 one, because the $68,000 bet that really changed my perspective towards, because that's when I felt that like it was getting ridiculous. So Golden State Warriors versus Cavaliers. Do you remember when Golden State was up 3-1 in the series, and then Cavs came back?
That was an exciting playoff series.
Crazy, right?
I had $0 in that.
So when they were up 3-1, Golden State against the Cavs, I bet on the Cavs to win game. Oh no, sorry. So when they were down 2-1, I bet the Cavs to tie the series to go 2-2. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was in Cleveland. I was like, okay, I'm gonna put like I think I wanted to win 50K on Cavs. So at that time, I think I had to put like, it was to win more actually, because Golden State was favorited.
They were, yep.
So I put 68,000 on the Cavs to win. I think maybe 100K. Right.
And didn't you have a boy, like a friend of yours was on one of the teams?
Yeah.
Like you told me?
Yeah. Tristan Thompson. He plays for the Cavs, right?
Okay.
And I even, the crazy thing is I was messaging my boy who lives with him.
Okay.
I was like all the time like, yo, how are they feeling today?
Yeah.
Even when
LeBron, is his ankle, is he calf? Is he feeling good? Is he confident?
You just reminded me of another story in Toronto. So I'll tell this Toronto story quickly.
Yeah.
Before we get into that one. So the Toronto story was, I messaged my boy because Cavs were in Toronto.
Yeah.
With LeBron. And I was like to my boy, I'm like, yo, message Tristan right now. How are they feeling? Are they feeling good?
Insider trading.
Yeah, because they're here in Toronto.
Yeah.
So he told me, he's just like, yo, like they're feeling good. LeBron says we're fucking winning tonight. Said that, all right? So I'm just like, okay, yo, I told my boys we got to go big on Cavs. Cavs are winning tonight, all right? So how
pumped were you? Like how?
Dude, I thought I was a guaranteed
hit.
Driven. LeBron says we're fucking winning
so
tonight.
Like, yes, coach. Yes, coach. Go in the game. Yes, coach.
Bro, I called my boys.
Sold my house, coach. Took out a loan, coach.
Yes.
$3 million. A loan shark's coming out to me.
Dude, it's like getting inside information from the dressing room. Especially in basketball, one player can dominate the game way more than, like a hockey. Hockey, one guy can't take over.
No.
LeBron can take over a game, like those type of
Jordan,
guys.
Jordan,
all those guys, KD. So anyways, so I call my boys. I'm like, yo, bet big tonight. LeBron said they're going to win. My boys end up going to the game. They actually they were sitting in, they went to the game that night. I couldn't go to the game because I had hockey that night. So I went to go play. Yeah. So I went to the game. My boys went to the game to watch. Third period, in my game, I go to check first time ever I brought my phone to the bench. Bro. I was like, yo, I had like 20 grand on this game for the Cavs, right? I look at my phone, right? All I see is fucking Raptors win. Like, I clicked the game. I'm like, how the
No
fuck?
way.
It says Lowry buzzer beater. It hit a buzzer beater. I'm like, are you kidding me? Yo, the rest of that game, dude, I was like, not even try.
You weren't even there.
I wasn't even there. I was like, what the?
Dead.
Yeah, everyone on my team was just like, yo, like what? Like, why are you checking your phone? Right, we're in a game. I was like, bro, like you guys don't understand.
You don't understand my addiction. You don't understand my focus. Like you were like so focused on so many different areas. Was it a playoff game?
It was a regular season game. It was a regular season game.
And Lowry hit a buzzer beater.
Yeah, it was like a buzzer beater shot, and then like, so I was like for 20 grand, but so the 68 grand one. So down 2-1 in the series. The game's in Cleveland, game 4. I put 68,000 on the Cavs, right?
And this is the Golden State Cleveland Cavaliers
series,
NBA
right?
Final Series.
Yeah. This is game 4. So 68 grand on Cavs. Dude, the whole game, Cavs were winning up until like a couple minutes left in the 4th. And then Steph and Clay just start smashing
threes.
Threes. Like, I'm just watching. I'm like, holy. The whole time I thought like I was winning this bet, right? And then fuck, like they took over. And then I was just like, after losing that game, I was like fucking devastated. I was like, oh my, like why did I even do that bet, right? And then I think that same night, I think that me and my boys were like, yo, let's just go to casino. And this is where the casino story is. So the funny thing is, every time me and my boys went to the casino, roulette, we'd always win. We never went there and lost. We'd always go there. You know, we're doing like 10K a spin, 20K a spin.
Were you inside the board or outside? Were you numbers or just red, black?
Red, black the whole time. We never did numbers. We'd always go, sometimes we'd move it around, but like 90% of the time we'd go red. You know, Asian, that's a strong color for us. Like, see, yeah, it caused you to think like, all these like superstitions, right?
Yeah.
So we'd always go to the casino, and that's what made like our sports betting, you know, because we were always winning at the casino. We're just like, yo, the sports betting is just like, it's a hobby. We used to tell ourselves, yo, that's just a hobby. Like, we're fucking pro at casino. Stupid, right?
Yeah.
And
it's funny to hear because it sounds like you guys were trying to like have so much control over everything. Like you were telling me, like I had insider trading. LeBron's telling me this. I feel like I have power. Yes. I have control over all these different things. Like all my pieces are in the exact place, and I'm just gonna make more and more and more. Like that's what it sounds like. Okay, I went to hockey, but then I went to a check, and okay, didn't do this, but like okay, but I have the casino. Like I can control those scenarios.
And I used to look at masonry numbers too.
What's masonry numbers?
So masonry numbers.
The devil, like Freemasons. What's that?
It's probably related to the devil, but so the masonry numbers would tell me like a team's record, because one of my boys, he put this stupid thing in my head where you look at the masonry, you add up the wins and losses of like a baseball team's record. If it's on the table of the masonry numbers, that team's gonna win tonight. Like the stupidest things, and I was like, yo, I believe, because it was winning a couple times, so I was like, yo, I gotta go by this now.
I'm good
and
now.
Then you lose, and you're just like this, like, yo, you're not yourself when you're betting. When I tell you this, especially at that level, if you're betting like a couple, like $40-$50, you know, like small amounts, you can be yourself, because it's just like at that point, it doesn't even like really matter to some people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're betting like the amounts that I was betting,
stupid amounts, man,
dude,
stupid
like,
amounts.
I was throwing
down payments on houses,
yes,
and you're just like, oh, you just put it on red here. Right?
Yeah, like we would, even at the casino, like when 15K a spin, 10K a spin, we would never lose. Like we'd always leave the casino up, and it got so bad to the point where the person that was running the tables, we'd get into full arguments because we're snapping, being like, yes, we're winning, and they'd be like, guys, be quiet, and be like, shut the fuck up, don't tell me what to do. You know, like getting into real arguments.
The rage, you're just like,
they're asking us
I need
for
the control.
ID.
I'm winning this. Like, don't take this away from me.
You're not yourself again. You know, you're just thinking, yo, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't ruin my streak. You know, you turn into a monster.
Did you see yourself changing with the sports
100%,
betting? And like,
dude,
like obviously you and your friends are together. Like, were you guys all kind of just changing, like getting into other addictions?
None of us were ourselves.
Yeah, you're just kind of.
You can't be.
Yeah, you're just kind of connected to all these different outlets, like sports gambling. Okay, we're making money here, but we have the sports gambling for fun. If we make whatever, but at least we have this.
Exactly. You start justifying.
Did you get into like other things? Like, how is your mental health? Like, you sleep well? Were you eating?
No.
Or just like
the worst?
Because casinos, they just pump oxygen, where you just kind of like coffee or whatever. Tequila.
You never feel tired, whether you're in a casino or you're sports gambling. You could do, if you got really into sports gambling serious with serious money, you could do 10 to 15 games and not feel tired. You never feel tired. That's why we had energy to go to a casino. Like after I did like 10 games in a row, I'd just be like, okay, yo, casino. I'd get home, not even sleep. Next, like I got to look at stats for the next game. Like I wasn't sleeping at all. It's the most stressful time of my life. Of anyone who does serious gambling, they're not sleeping. There's no time to.
And you weren't mainly making money, really. Were you kind of just going back and forth? Like you were just kind of just. So you're.
It was just
so
like
you're dropping big dollars. You're stressed all the time. You weren't really profiting long term. You're just in this cycle, like this feedback loop of like, okay, lows, highs, lows, highs, lows, highs, lows, highs. Like when you.
It wasn't even about the money. Like you don't even calculate anymore, because like I said, so I was just gambling my own money. So I was seeing, like, I wasn't even calculating what was coming out. I just knew that I have money. I'm good. Like these bets, like it wasn't even to like.
Did you want to get
I wasn't
something?
chasing it. I wasn't even chasing anything. It was just more of the excitement of just putting the money on a game and,
So it was like the
winning.
short-term satisfaction, that spike of high. Was there any kind of goal at all around it?
I never had a goal once.
No purpose around this, doing this. Like if I make this money, I can put it here.
Never.
Just pure, just go.
Just go
Use, consume.
Next
watch
game,
this,
next game. Go. Baseball, UFC, anything. Tennis.
So what was that breaking point for you? Getting into that, like, holy cow, okay, like not sleeping, like I'm looking at all my friends, like, is this gonna be our life? How long was it? Like a whole year you did it? Like how long did the gambling
it was at least a year.
Yeah,
maybe even a year and a half, maybe. So then it
That's
just got to the point,
man.
dude. I'm not even like scraping this. Like another bet, I did 128 on a tennis match, right?
How much?
128,000 on a tennis match.
$128?
Yeah. So
was it Roger Federer?
No, it was Karlovic.
Nadal?
It was a Karlovic. Like he's one of the biggest servers. Okay. But I had to do that because I was chasing that day. I was down, so I was like, okay, I got to go on this match, and I didn't even watch that match because of the time difference. So I was just like, I just woke up to see the results.
Just hope it is.
And I lost it. I lost the bet. So I was just like, at that point, it got so much where, I told myself, like, yo, like, what's the end goal? Like, you're not sleeping, like, you're under so much stress, watching games every day, like, it ruins so many things. Like, you're not yourself. You have to like come up with lies to people to like, because you don't want to tell. Like, I could only talk to it like with my friends at the time
that were losing all the money with you.
Yeah,
or, like,
exactly.
You couldn't really associate with people.
No,
because you could have to tell people I'm addicted. Like I have this crazy addiction. Because you just told me you lost $128,000.
Exactly.
And like it was nothing. If someone hears it, you're like, dude,
it's crazy.
The fuck are you doing?
I know.
And you probably at the time were like, oh, whatever, next bet, or
like I never felt that it was anyone else's problem other than mine, because I'd be like, you're not giving me money anyway, so I always had to think like my own money, I can do what I want with it, right?
Yeah.
Which is so stupid as well. But so at that time, like when I was sleeping, like I wasn't sleeping, but I was just in my head, right?
Trying to sleep and just think about all the fucking games and stats and other shit you could come up with.
I just remembered one night, I prayed to God. I was like, God, give me a way out of this.
And was this the first time you prayed to God, or were you kind of like talking to him here and there? Was he like convicting you?
The only time I was talking to him here and there before was, help me win. I remember saying before, I was like, God, let me win this game.
Yeah,
let me win.
It's always
I was praying to him for him to help me win games, not to help
with your
me
addictions, not heal you,
not heal me. No, it was for him like spin it. God, if this is heads, I'm going on this team.
And that's the biggest thing you're coming with. Like people pray to God for their sins.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're listening to this, you don't pray to God for your addictions.
No.
Like pray to God for your pride and your ego. Like you pray to God to get rid of that shit.
Exactly.
And you're like, yo, give me more of this, man. Give me more of this. Or like people be like, yo, God bless me, man. Like he just made me millionaires and give me like
God, help me win the lottery. Like people pray like that. Like it's the craziest thing, bro. There's people, they do
God,
it, right?
The Leafs win the Stanley Cup. Let the Leafs win the Stanley Cup. Yeah.
Yeah, so during that time, it was just like, I knew I wasn't myself, right? And like I lost who I was because I was so into the gambling that like I knew like, I had to stop because it was affecting even the people around me, like my other friends and stuff. Like I was making like bad decisions based on the gambling.
Were you also like treating people badly or just angry or just
distant?
Probably,
distant,
like fuck off kind of thing?
Yeah, and just like, like manipulating certain situations because I was just like, I don't have time for this guy, right? And then, gambling causes you to make decisions that, you're not proud of too, as like a spiritual person, because you're always trying to justify and you're just lost. So I remember praying to God one night and I was just like, God, give me a way out, like anything, just help me stop this. And then, eventually, one night when I was sleeping, like, I don't know how long it was after I prayed that, because it wasn't right away. Like, I'd be lying to you if I said, "Oh, right away, God just gave me an idea."
Yeah.
I was probably betting again after for like another maybe month or 2 months.
It's a process. You started thinking about it. Like, that's the thing too. Like, listening. Like, you can't just get rid of addiction. Like, I pray to God, get rid of it. It's like sometimes, like, oh, it's a process.
No.
Like, I prayed once, okay, slipped up. You know what I mean? Like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So that's kind of the process you're going with, right? Like, okay, I pray to God today. Okay, didn't really get the sign, whatever I'm looking for. I'll just go back. But now it's like he's in the conversation.
Yeah, I'm at least praying to him to help me stop gambling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not praying to him for to help me win games.
Win.
Yeah.
Give me 100K. Come on.
And then so one night I remember I was sleeping and then an idea came to me for the "This is not Supreme box logo" shirt. Randomly. Well, not randomly, but it was sent from God, because I remember waking up and I thanked God right when I got that idea. I was like,
because you felt like
I knew
it wasn't you, like you didn't. It's like something
they
just
didn't
came.
come from me. It was just like, and I know it's from God because I thanked God when that happened. I was like, God, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm putting that on a shirt, and like this is what I'm gonna be committed to.
Damn.
And then from there, it was just from that day, from the moment I took my my clothing brand serious, never made a single bet again. Never even
like you didn't once that idea came.
Never, yeah. It was
cured,
instant cold turkey.
like,
it was
boom.
like it was fucked. Yeah, it was crazy. It was like, yo, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm putting all my effort, everything into this brand, to building my own thing, because God blessed me with this vision. Like I'm gonna kill it now. Like I already, as cocky as it sounds, I knew from that first shirt, that idea, that I had it. Like I'm gonna snap. Did
that increase your relationship with God to be like obviously you kind of knew he was real, believed in him, but like you're like, holy shit, like,
yeah, because it changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, he changed my life by giving me that idea, because if I didn't get that, I'd still be gambling 100%.
What were your friends saying? Like, because like obviously you woke up and then whatever, say you meet them later on, you're just like, yo guys, I'm out. Like,
I think we all kind of stopped, like, because one thing about like me and my friends we were so tight together that if one person wasn't doing anything, it just didn't feel the same.
Okay.
Like we had to go to the casino together or else we weren't winning.
Do it as a team.
Exactly. And because we were so superstitious that like, yo, if we didn't go together,
mess everything up,
we might not win. We've always went together. We've always came out with money.
Mm-hmm.
So like, why would we change it?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we all just slowly we all kind of just stopped, because we just weren't, because I stopped as well, and then they stopped. So we all stopped together. But at least now I had a goal and I had a purpose of, I'm going to build my own brand and just not have to even look at games anymore. I'm going to watch games when I just want to watch it for fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I was so busy with building my own brand that I didn't even have time for games.
It gave you a focus. It gave you some kind of purpose that wasn't just all over the place. You weren't now scattered.
Yeah.
Because is that how you felt? You felt scattered brained and anxious and depressed and stressed?
Every emotion you can think of, I felt. Anxiety, depression, just feeling like, you're worthless, because you feel that, if you have a bad day gambling, like, what's the point, right? Like, why am I even living? Like, anyone who gambles seriously, they'll tell you that all of these things that you feel inside it's all like spirits, like the devil's spirit. Like you feel like the devil's in you. Like I couldn't stop. If you told me to stop gambling, I'd smash a computer. I'd be like, yo, I'm gonna go somewhere else and get someone else's computer. You can't tell an addict to stop, especially gambling, because I don't feel like I'm hurting myself.
Yeah.
I think I said it before to you, like, if it's drugs or alcohol, you can pass out. Like you can, if you're over drinking, you can pass out, and
gambling, you're awake, you're going.
Bro, gambling makes you're fired.
Especially if you're an athlete, you love sports. There's always a different sport on, like you said, different time zones. There's always another game.
And the only time it stops gambling is when you have no more money. But nowadays you can take loans, you can ask people for money, so it can never stop, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why, like, I get goosebumps even thinking about like how I was able to stop, because that's God gave me that, that vision.
Yeah, and you guys listening, like, think about this, where, like you said, Aaron was addicted. Like, you're addicted to your gambling. Like, these demonic evil spirits are in you. Like there's nothing going to stop you. Like this is your thing. If you stop, it's like, what else? Like I have to have this. And it wasn't you took yourself out of it, right? It was you going, you know what? I know I'm going to continue down this. I can't control this. Like I'm not going to be able to stop. I'll try to do something else and I'll go right back to it.
Yeah.
Right. And like you just talking to God like one time and then just for a little bit.
Not one time, but I kept praying.
But like, you kept him in the conversation. You kept him, okay, you know what? He's real. He's there. Right. And I want to make sure that, okay, I do want to get out of this eventually. And he brought you out of that. Right. Like he gave you this idea when you were sleeping. You weren't like in the room going, "Can we try this?" No, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It just came, and you feel like you said, like, you feel the boost bumps, you feel that essence around you, and that kind of gives you more of the direction, right? So when you had the some know to some know this, how did that name come up? How did you think about the box logo? Because you already had a following, right? So you knew you had people that were interested in that. And it's like how'd you kind of?
So the name, like I can't tell you exactly how it came up because I don't remember how I came up with the name, but I knew like. So one day I put it as an Instagram caption on one of my pictures, right? And then like I don't know how it came up with, but then it was pretty like people liked it. I remember they're like, "Yo, like it's pretty funny, it's pretty clever." So then I was like, "Yo, I'm not gonna call my brand name This Is Not Supreme. Like that's just a design, right?" So I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna put that as my brand name. Some know this, some know this, and see how it goes." But so then I focused all of my energy into the brand, and then it also brought me away from it because I was so busy doing it. It brought me away from my friends because like I wasn't having time to hang out. I was always like packaging this and that. So like that's why, when I look back, I was like, it was a blessing, but also like when you're pursuing something and you're so focused, it can also ruin other relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like I was just happy that God gave me that vision to stop gambling because who knows where I would have been if he didn't give me that. I'd still be gambling, I think so.
You think you'd still be doing kind of
unless I got some other vision or like some other job and like what else? I don't know. I can't predict what would have happened.
And do you think it like clothing, because you grew up in it, you always had a natural curiosity? It was something that no one ever kind of made you go into. It made it almost where I always say too. I think God, as when you're younger and you're a child, whatever, you just do things that are like you're naturally curious about. You just want to get into things that like, oh, this is kind of cool. I like this athlete. Do this stuff. Do this. Do you think it's good for someone to like just start getting curious about things that they just naturally are going to cling to anyways?
And what they're passionate about. So I was always into, like I told you, I was always into sneakers and fashion and everything. So it was just like, in my head, it was only a matter of time of whether I was going to start my own brand or start my own store. Because remember I told you in university, I was thinking of, am I going to start my own store one day? So I think it was inevitable because I've always been into it. And I just didn't know exactly what my brand would be or what I was going to do until I did the box logo.
And let's talk about Supreme a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me a bit about, in terms of that Supreme culture, you're saying this is not Supreme.
Yeah.
Talk a bit about this hype beast culture that you're into, that you understand.
So that whole streetwear culture. So Supreme, first off, it's the biggest streetwear brand in the world, right? Like you see it everywhere. Everyone has Supreme on. So Supreme, Bape. There's some other ones, but those are like the two biggest. And that whole world, it's like they have like cult followings. So it's not things that you can just buy in like a mall. It's things where you have to search for it. You got to go to secondary markets because they only have stores in certain places, like in New York, in Japan. So it's almost a thing where if you're in the know, if you're in the culture, you have to try to find these things, because if you don't try to search for it, how are you going to get it? And you'll see certain people wearing the stuff, and you'll be like, yo, like this rapper's wearing it, this celebrity's wearing it. They know about it.
So that's how Supreme got big.
Yeah, that's how every brand pretty much gets big. From
were
who's
they
wearing
the first?
it.
Were they the first kind of?
They were the first
hype beast to make it exclusive. And
Bape was like the original streetwear hype beast brand. Like Kanye was wearing it, Lil Wayne, everyone was wearing that. Biggie was wearing it back in the day, so they had a lot of history. And then from there, because Supreme started as a skateboarding company, And then after that, then they people who weren't skateboarders, they were like, this is still cool stuff. I'm going to buy it. And then, yeah, just it took off. But that's the whole culture of that world. Even sneakers. It's all about finding rare stuff that's not released in a Foot Locker. That you going into Square One Mall or any mall, you're not going to be able to get this. You got to be in the know. You got to go to boutiques to get this. You got to find
the right people. It's very clique. You got to find those.
You got to fly to New York to get this.
Put in the work, put in the hustle, put in the money.
And that's why I loved it so much because I always liked getting stuff that nobody had, like the rare stuff. So even when I was in high school, like I was wearing like high school, university, I was always looking for stuff that other people didn't have. Like, you remember, so in high school, did you have a uniform? Did you have a school uniform to wear?
Loyola Warriors uniform.
So do you remember?
Civvies days. Bro, my sister was big in fashion, hip-hop culture. My grade 9 year, she made me look swag. Because, she was in grade 12 at the time, and now I'm in grade 9. And I knew, like, that Civvies Day was your time to show yourself. In Catholic schools, right? So
that's the time to shine.
Bro, so I LRG, was LRG bet?
Huge.
Yeah, so I had LRG. I had an LRG. I had my Nike Air Forces, black and white. My hoodie was black and white. I was swag, bro.
Jeez.
I actually have a picture in a hockey dressing room. And I was a wankster back in the day. Like, I loved, dressing hip hop, urban, whatever, big baggy pants, basketball jerseys. Like, that was my swag, bro.
Dude, LRG. That's funny you brought up LRG because LRG was remember how I just told you BAPE was the first one?
Mm-hmm. Learning Research Group.
Lifted Research Group.
Lifted Research Group, because I was always into that. Like, when I was younger, I liked how that looks.
So you were into streetwear probably before me.
I'm like the farthest guy from streetwear. Like, I'm learning all these names from you. Like even Supreme, right? I just knew at a younger age, like, my sister liked hip hop and rap. My brother listened to that music. I always looked at clothing like, I like that. Okay, cool. Like, get me this, get me Nikes. Like, I want to be swagged out. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be ready for Civvies Days. So were Civvies Days big for you? Is that how
huge? Those were marked on my calendar. Like, I had my fits lined up for the Civvies Day.
Jeez.
Of like, I'm getting this release for this day, and then after I wear it on that Civvies Day, I got to sell it or trade it for the next one to get ready. Like, I took it so serious, especially because I was working at Champs.
Yeah.
Like, so Jordan would release these things called countdown packs. It was two shoes into one box.
Okay.
$400 for 2 pairs. So they force you to buy 2. But for me, what I would do is, because if you're a Champs employee or Foot Locker, there's things called 50 days where once every 2 months you get 50% off your entire purchase as an employee. So me in the back, I used to hide them in the back stock room of all the rare Jordans, like put them in different places.
Did other employees do that or just you?
In my store, it was just me because
Okay.
I was probably like the most into sneakers at my store, but other employees didn't know I was doing that.
You kept it low key. No one knew.
No, I didn't tell anyone. But when 50 day came around,
What's 50 day?
50 days the day you get 50% off anything in the store.
Okay.
So when that day came, I pull out everything that I was hiding, bring it up. Everyone would be like, "Where the fuck were these? Like, these were sold like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, right?" And I just be like, "Yo, I just found them in the back. I didn't know, right?"
Yeah, I just found them.
Yeah, and I would just I'd have the crazy, and then after I'd get all that, I'd go to upstairs to Foot Locker because your discount works there too.
Dang.
And I'd go every store I was going to, just like snapping on 50
This
day.
guy's a hustler, a real entrepreneur.
Yeah, so that's why I had so many Jordans and stuff, because at 50% off, you could be still selling them for more than what they were going for, or trading them to guys in the States.
Jeez. So
yeah, it's a crazy culture.
So it's crazy how you took that from high school and that culture of entrepreneurship, like buying, selling, trading, etc. And then you went to you made some good money with that, obviously, because you got into serious gambling, and it came back full circle then getting back into clothing and starting your own clothing brand.
Yeah.
And just seeing how that that cyclical works, like things you're already prone to be good at and actually had a purpose for, like you said, Civvies Day, you planned for it, you had a purpose behind it. It wasn't just nonsense of throwing money here and there. It was yo, this is cool. I like this. I'm passionate about it. I can be creative.
Yeah.
There's more to it, right? There's inspiration. I'm inspiring people, right? You're being a personal stylist. You're fitting people, making them look good, and then getting. Like we always say, when you're younger, you kind of fall into the world a bit.
Yeah.
Right? You fall into what's cool, sports. You don't really... Okay, I was in university. It's almost like, go to a university for 4 years. You kind of get dull. You kind of get oh, I'm in the system, whatever. Yeah, I have this thing, but I kind of lose the drive for it. I'll just, get into this gambling a bit because that's exciting. That's new. I get high. Well, this is sick. And then how God kind of places you back. This is what you were into. You know what I mean?
And also, on that topic of you saying, God already, came full circle with what I was passionate about.
Yeah.
One of my OGs back in the day, his name is Shadow, and he always told me from the start, he's like, swag is not on you, it's in you.
Mm.
So that type of mindset of just like, because I always cared about, you know, like having nice shit, right? Like rare stuff. That was something that was always inside of me, even when I played tennis. Remember I told you it was starting in my tennis days when I was like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
So I always had that in me of like, you know, I like to dress well, and I like to have stuff that not everyone has. So that just carried over to my later years. And then when I was able to turn it into a business, that just shows you that when you have focus into, you know, your actual passions, that God gave it to you, blessed you with certain gifts, certain passions, that if you pursue it properly in His name, you know, that's where your success will come. It's not going to come from chasing things like gambling, you know, things that like you weren't meant to do. So, you know, like I was blessed that He gave me that vision to start my own brand. And you know,
do you think people that are just into fashion and styling, you know, styling people and styling themselves, do you think they should start their own clothing brands? Do you think you should just go for it? Like, what would you tell someone that says, even has some kind of addiction, gambling addiction? Like, do you think that clothing in specifics, and someone's listening is maybe into clothing, you know, you have people that follow you are into clothing. Do you think they should just try to push something they love regardless of the outcome?
The thing with that is, like, for my own, I can only speak on my own situation because I already had a following. If I didn't have a following and then God gave me that vision to do a shirt and I had, let's say, like a couple hundred followers, it wouldn't have blew up the same way it did with me. Like I already had like a lot of followers at that time, so it's this, God aligned the stars perfectly for me at that time. So if someone else is in a gambling addiction, I can't tell them to necessarily say, you know, start a clothing brand and it's going to save your life.
Or anything really, or any kind of venture.
Yeah, I would say to them, like, whatever your passion is, it's better to focus your energy, time, resources, money into your passion rather than to an addiction. Never, like, the addiction will always lead you down a dark path, you know? Any type of addiction, sex addiction, drugs, gambling. But when you're pursuing something that you're passionate about and, like, you know, investing your time in there, over time you're going to see an improvement much more than the addiction, because the addiction is just going to be killing you inside. So I would say that you know, everyone's circumstance is different, but if you're trying to start a clothing brand, know what you're gonna release. Like when I say know what you're gonna release, don't just start a clothing brand and be like, okay, I'm just gonna do this and this. Like, you need to have. My thing was, I had one shirt, one concept. You know, that design. This is not Supreme. That was my one thing I was gonna do, and I just killed it with like all different types. So it's not like I had 100 different ideas of, I'm gonna do this shirt, this type of shirt, this. And like, no, I just focused on one thing and then just killed it. So I would tell people that if you're going to start a clothing brand, focus on one thing at first. Don't try to do whole lines. I see too many people try to do like full clothing lines, and then there's too many things going on where, you know, like you have no vision. Like, your vision's not concise enough. It's not clear, where it's too many things going on, and, you know, you're investing too much money. You're putting too much money out there. Things aren't selling, and you're shooting yourself in your own foot. I say focus on one design, do it well.
So be patient with that. Be patient. Like, go over designs. Make sure you like it. Like, just
don't just make sure you like it. You got to make sure other people like it. There's tons of shit that I like myself, but I know other people don't like, and that's what makes a good brand. Being able to release certain things that are good for everybody, not just for you, because you got to put yourself in, you know, the consumer's mindset, right? So,
in ending, what would you tell somebody that's struggling with their gambling addiction? You know, sports gambling is massive. Obviously, during COVID, like, there's not much of that going on, and people are going into other addictions. Say, in retrospect, you could go back to your young self, or go back, or, you know, what is some tips you could say that can maybe get you to start thinking about other things? Obviously, for us, you know, you and I investing in a relationship with Christ over time, it makes it easier to be like, oh, whoa, I'm slipping. Like, you know, I'm slipping. Whoa, it's not good. Right, you and I grew up with God a bit in our conversations in our life. Like, we knew things we were doing is wrong. Say someone is just like, yo, I got no God in my life, man. Like, I just love gambling. What are some tips? Like, yo, go try this, or things that are like applicable to their life?
So if they have no God in their life, I think that's probably going to be very difficult, because you're going to feel like you're going to have to take on that challenge yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, for me, because I knew I had God, like I was praying to him, whether it was for the wrong things or not, like I've always believed in God no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that me always praying to him, felt that, like one day he's going to lead me out of it. And just having that little bit of faith in him, because your faith's not going to be enormous during dark times. It's going to be small.
Mm-hmm.
But having that little bit of faith in him, and for him to bless me and take me out of it, it's not something that I'm sure that someone else may be able to feel who doesn't believe in God. Because if you don't believe in God, you might have to turn to, seek counseling from people. And I'll tell you one thing: if I went to counseling, that person sitting in that chair is not going to tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
He won't be able to relate to me.
Mm-hmm.
Him, like, when you're gambling the amounts that I was gambling too, it's like, how can that guy even relate to my stories?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know that feeling. He'll just be thinking like, it's like any sports thing. You just have to cold turkey.
Yeah.
How are you going to cold turkey when you're dropping like 300,000 in a week?
Like,
right? Like,
bro, you can't just go back. You can't just be like, oh, I lost 200,000. Let me just go on my day.
You can't relate to it.
No, you can't.
So it's like, for that, to go to your question about someone who doesn't have God in their life, I don't know if they can turn to a counselor and if that'll help them or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you, if that was me, that wouldn't have helped me.
Mm.
Literally, God was the only one who could help me get out of it.
Mm.
Right? And get out of it with a purpose.
With a
I'm
purpose.
talking with a purpose.
That's
it's one thing to get out of it and then you get depressed and you can't do anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have wanted that.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to just stop gambling and just like have nothing to do, who knows what I would have. Maybe I would have got into drugs or something, or drinking.
Find some other addiction and
Exactly.
justify it. Some kind of,
Yeah.
I'll play a lot of sports, or I'll do a lot of this, I'll do a lot of that. Like, find another way to fill the void, right, that we're constantly chasing. There's something inside you that you're constantly chasing. So that's a good point, Aaron. Like, even if you guys don't, know God or grew up in a family of God, just start maybe having a conversation. Do it in privacy. So no one judges you. Just have a conversation like, hey, God, like, what do you think of this so far? Like, just start having that kind of feedback conversation. Like, don't have to make it too weird for yourself. You don't have to get on two knees, put your hands together, start praying. Just like start talking, shooting the shit. Like, sometimes I do that too. I'm like, yo, God, what's going on in this? Like, I know I've been slipping. Like, what do you think about this? Like, I kind of have a general conversation, man. Like, he meets you where you're at. It's not just some like holy crazy thing. You have to talk a certain way. Do it in the privacy so no one's around you. You can be focused. And you're right. You need to have that little bit of belief, that little bit of light, right? Sometimes when you have no God, there's such darkness, and like you get used to the darkness. But having that little light, that little hope, that little belief, to knowing, okay, yeah, I'm in this, but I know there's a way out. There's that door that if I want to, I can go through, and I don't have to do it alone. I don't have to come up with the idea alone. It's not just always on me. Like, your addiction was all on me. The money, my money, all good, bro. I'll keep going. And that's when you think about how limitless we are. Like, you're tired, you're gassed, you're anxious, and everyone's like, yo, sick, he's dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah, but he feels like shit.
Yeah.
His temple, his body, everything you're telling me, you felt like shit. It's like,
I felt like I was literally living for the devil.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like.
Yeah, he had you by the balls, being like, he puts
he had me so bad that I was praying to my God for picks of which team to win. That's when like,
amen, yeah.
It's either you're on one side or the other side. There's no in between.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the one thing, like I said in episode 1, the one thing I want for the goal of this podcast is to just bring people closer to God, so they don't have to rely on themselves. Because I know what that's like, to having to go through battles by yourself, and it's next to impossible, right? Like, we can't deal with everything ourselves.
Amen. And you guys heard it first from a guy who dropped hundreds of thousands of dollars. So clearly, money can't compete against God.
Never.
Right?
Nothing can.
Nothing can.
No amount of success you get will ever give you the inner peace that God can.
Amen.
Because a lot of times the things that they think, like when people say, once I become a millionaire, I'll be fulfilled and I'll be good, that once you hit that number, there's always the next thing that comes up. So that stuff, it never really fulfills you. The only fulfillment you get is from your relationship with God, knowing that I'm going to walk this path with him. Anything that I do, whether it's clothing, whether it's music, anything, that I'm going to walk with him, because if I walk alone, it's going to steer me down a wrong path, and like I'm going to fail eventually.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you guys try to have some kind of conversation with God, or maybe just ask your friends about some things, people you trust in your life, if that's a place for you where you want to start. Make sure you guys leave a good review if you like this on the podcast. We're going to put this out on all podcast forums. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think so far. If you have any questions, pop out your questions to Aaron and I. Clearly, you'll see that all this money in the world won't save your life, won't change things and make them for the better. Know that God's always in the midst. He's always there for you, putting out his hand. He'll leave that glimmer of light, right? So just know, okay? And so, Aaron has he's gonna leave us a bit with a verse of the day. Go ahead, man.
Yep. So this is from Philippians chapter 4, verses 5 and 6, and it says, "The Lord is at hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God." So, let's just don't have so much anxiety over things that you can't control. Be present, pray to God, and, just he's going to bless you with the things you need in your life at that time. You might not see it now, like, especially just look at my own story. Every time I was praying, he didn't give it to me right away. He makes you go through struggles. He makes you go through hardships. So there's no being anxious doesn't add a day to your life. It doesn't take away a day from your life. So just, be present and be with God.
Amen. Stay tuned for next episode, guys. We'll get into more about even my addictions and what I went through and more testimony as we go through farther into the culture to Christ. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon.